one, but one of the big things we want to do is we wanted to take the player to a brand new place, let them experience new gameplay. Because of course we wanted to gameplay before, so it's still in the same universe. Tommy's still a part of the game. You don't play him, but you play a brand new character.
Okay, so Tommy, the protagonist from the first game, he
Yes.
still makes an appearance though.
Absolutely, yes. He's a very important character for the story.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, can you just talk a little bit about the gameplay? It seems like you're a lot more mobile on the battlefield than
Yes.
you were in Prey.
Yes, you're very fast, very fluid. We call it agile combat. And the idea behind it is essentially I can slide to cover, I can pop up.
And I mean, you can also scale buildings and that type of stuff as well. Like you move up and down the environments
Absolutely,
as well as
the world we've
across.
created is very vertical, and we've got really cool movement, climbing abilities for the player to climb around, which is not only awesome for exploration and climbing the world, but it's crucial for being a bounty hunter. If I'm chasing down some crazy alien freak who can teleport or move really fast, I need to use the full extent of my abilities to take him down.
Okay, and I mean, can you talk about sort of how challenging that system will be? Like, is it something where if you make a leap to a building, you can fail at that and maybe fall, or is it more automated where you press the buttons and you move through the environment?
You definitely could fail. You definitely could fall.
Okay.
So there is challenge to it, but it's not punishing. Like, our goal with it is essentially, I'm trying to chase this guy down, and the challenge isn't like, can I make this jump? Can I make this slide? There is some challenge to it, but really what it is we want the players to think a little bit more tactically. Like, I'm gonna slide into this thing, I'm gonna vault over that, I'm gonna leap to this next piece of cover as I'm going through combat, just to make players think a little bit more tactically.
And I mean, I guess like, the world itself is fairly open, or at least the locations you visit, because I mean, we're seeing this one city here, but there are also a few other more open locations you can visit later.
There's a number of different locations throughout the world, and they are all very open, and it is an open world game, so you get to choose which mission you take, even if you take a mission or not, where you go. You don't even have to take a mission. You go and explore around the world, just find cool things happening in the world and just interact with them. Killing guys, mugging guys, finding ambient targets.
Yeah, so I mean, if you were to go around the world and sort of act like a jerk and just be like, well, I don't care what anyone thinks, I'm just going to mess things up, what forces exist in the world that would stop you from doing that?
There is an overall security system in the world. So if you go and you're just killing random people, knocking them down, pushing them off of edges, throwing electric bolas around them, taking them down, the security system does activate and try to take you down.
Okay, so there is a deterrent to doing
There
that.
is, yes, and it does escalate. So if you actually fight the police that come in, it will continue to escalate.
And does the game actually track your actions that you're taking? Like, if you keep doing bad things, will it eventually paint you as, hey, you're a bad person?
There is a reputation system to the game, but it's a little bit more about kind of the short term than the long term. So there are things like, I can take a mission, I can be going and say I'm going after a particular target. We've got one mission where the target will contact me and say, hey, I'll pay you double if you go back and kill the original client. So you get the option of, do I want to double cross the client or not? If you double cross him, that could mean one thing. He might try to attack you, and it'll be a much harder battle. You might get more money for doing that, but it will affect your reputation overall.
Okay, so there is a little bit of a branching structure there
There is,
to
yeah.
the mission paths. And I know the visor is an important part of how the gameplay works and how you explore and just basically look at things. Can you just talk about how that works?
And the visor has a couple of different functions. One of them is like, you can see here that the target, he's running away and he's glowing that blue color. That allows you to help see him through walls. So as you're running around, you can kind of always see where the target is once you've identified him. The visor allows you also to scan around and look for characters of interest. There's a lot of different characters in the world. So you can see, do I want to interact with this guy? It'll show you if characters are hostile towards you or not. It's also really useful for various missions of like kind of scanning around and looking for items of interest that are related to the mission itself.
Okay, and I mean, I believe what we're seeing the chase sequence.
Yes.
You know, how often do these sorts of things come about? And I mean, I guess what sort of options do you have for slowing somebody down who's trying to run away from you?
Really, the key thing is when you're trying to slow someone down is you need to incapacitate them. Well, if it's a capture target, if it's a kill target, you just use whatever arsenal you have to try to kill that guy. But if it's a capture target, you need to stop, you need to incapacitate him. We've got a ton of different gadgets that allow you to incapacitate him. What we're showing today is just one of the main ones is the bolas. Wraps around a guy, takes him down to the ground. Now, it doesn't work on all targets. The target we have here, he can teleport. So if you try to wrap the bolas around him, he can just teleport out of the bolas and run away. So you need to find a different way to capture him.
Okay, and I mean, you can actually upgrade those gadgets as well, right? Like, there's ways to interact with NPCs, with vendors to make them more effective and things like that?
Exactly.
I don't know if you can go into detail on that system.
You can upgrade all of your gadgets. A lot of them have various different upgrades. I think right now we're at around 40 different upgrades total.
Okay.
It'll probably end up going up a little bit higher than that as we kind of add in a few more things. But there's a lot of different gadgets. There's over 20 different gadgets. They're all upgradable, and really what it does is that turns into affecting your overall choice. Do I want to play a little bit more stealthy? I'll choose more stealth gadgets. Do I want to play more guns blazing? I'll choose shoulder-mounted rockets and grenades.
Okay, and I mean, one thing people sort of think when they see first-person shooters is, well, there has to be a multiplayer mode in this game. What's the case with that in Prey 2?
There's no multiplayer in Prey 2.
Okay.
We want to focus on making a solid, awesome, deep single-player experience. That's part of the reason we're partnered with Bethesda, because they're the masters of making these large single-player open-world games. Perfect.
So something like a deathmatch just wouldn't really make sense for...
No, we didn't think that would make sense, and the thing is, we didn't want to make something that would end up possibly feeling tacked on. Not that we would go in and try to make something that's tacked on, but a lot of times in games, the multiplayer feels a little bit tacked on. In my opinion, I don't think that's a good thing, because I don't think that's good for, it's not good for the game player, because they're not getting like a solid, awesome experience. It's not good for the developer because it waters down their resources, and it's not good for the publisher because they're not going to get the return on the investment.
And I mean, can you just go over sort of what's happening here on screen? We see a capture.
So yeah, we finally cornered him and we ended up capturing him. Now, when you actually have a target captured, you got a couple of options. You can interrogate him for info, which will give you more information about the story, or about maybe where he hid he's got a cache of money or items or something. Or you could send him to the client. Now, when you interrogate him, you run the risk of accidentally killing him. So this target was wanted alive, so we decided not to interrogate him, just zap him a few times, try to get a little bit of info, then play it a little bit safe and send him to the client.
Okay. And I mean, can you talk a little about sort of the technology powering the game? Like what did you use to build it?
This is based upon a modified IdTech 4.
Okay.
And one of the first things we did, sitting down with it, is we knew we were going to make an open world game. We knew we had to see much further distances. So two of the big things that we did is we added a different occlusion system that allows you to see much further in the game for this open world game. It also allows you to have a lot more characters on screen. We've got a lot of NPCs in the world. We've got a lot of different characters you're going to fight and interact with. So we did that, and then the other thing we did is physical-based lighting, because we knew that the world we wanted to create wanted to be very realistic and awesome looking. So the lighting is actually based upon proper physical properties of lighting. So it lights up. It's really easier for the creators to go in and pop down lights. It properly bounces around the world, illuminates things, and looks beautiful.
Nice. Well, what platforms is it coming to, and when might people be able to pick it up?
It's going to be on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC, and it's going to come out next year, in 2012.
Okay.